All right, we are live. Jers and Rob, CJ Cup DFS Preview. It's funny. This is Rob's show. I gave him the platform to do his DFS Monday on the Jersey account, but decided to come on talk a little golf. Rob, thanks for doing your show, but thanks for being
Yeah,
here with me.
well, thanks for thanking me to do the show. Usually it's the other way around, and thankful for another Wednesday. Thankful to talk golf, and we get an opportunity to make money, and there's not a lot of better opportunities than that. So let's just dive in. And I'm interested because I like to ask every single guest this because strategy in DFS is the most important thing. It's about, almost not, I'm not going to say completely different than DFS betting because we have the handicap stuff, but after the process of finding golfers, everything changes. So with that in mind, what's your strategy with DFS, and maybe what are you looking at this week for just strategy wise?
Yeah, strategy wise, it's not too much has changed for me. As you know, I'm more of a betting guy. I don't really dabble in DFS too much, but looking into it this week, I mean, I'm looking at stuff from like a betting point of view, and I feel like I can give some good input because at the end of the day, I'm still looking for golfers who will perform good. That's what the name of the game is. So
Right.
we're gonna go down each price range. You're gonna give the guys you like, and then I'm gonna give the guys I like. Keep it simple.
Yeah, that's where we really want to, call on your expertise to actually find the golfers. And then the tricky thing within DFS, which I think a lot of people either forget or neglect, is this idea that, let's if we think of it as a two-step game, the first game is the kind of handicapping, which you do so well with your bets. So finding the golfer, creating a pool, and then how to add or eliminate golfers in that pool, or how to adjust your own personal ownership shares to the golfers in that pool. That's where we get into the game theory and this aspect of once we're in that step, we have to think of the game's not about finding golfers anymore. It's about how do we beat these other people in our contests. And so it's almost like, some people used to say when online poker was so big is that some poker players would be better if they never looked at their hand. I think it's similar to DFS. If people never handicapped their actual golfers and just based on ownership, sometimes we could be a better DFS player. So just things to consider and to remind ourselves, because what I noticed just I guess this past week, and fall swing has so many variables, is that hey, we're going to have inconsistent results. So maybe a few of us out there had a bad month, a bad 2 months, a bad 3 months, and so we're really getting down, and we think, gosh, I have to abandon that strategy. And what can really make us bad DFS players if that fear gets in our mind and thinks, oh, I don't like losing money anymore. I can't lose money. So I'm going to have to adjust my strategy or play chalk or not go contrarian. So but I always say for DFS, maybe at the end of some of Drew's and I shows, is that if you don't listen to a thing I say, just keep doing what you're doing. So long-winded,
Right.
but let's hop into these ranges and get cooking.
Yeah, this is going to be a really fun week. This is one of the best. This is
Oh
the
yeah.
best field we've had so far, and it's a big week for you. Your Cats head down to Athens. Are you excited for that?
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited for that. I'm a little worried, but I am super biased. This is the most physical team I think Georgia will see, and even Georgia said that today in the press conference. I agree, and we're probably going to lose, very likely actually, but
Yeah.
I think it'll be closer than people think, and maybe one of Georgia's closest games all year.
Yeah, it should be. All right, let's get into this. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
It is a huge week. We're going to get right into it. We'll start with the 10K range. Obviously, the 10K range, we don't have to really sell you on any of these guys. These are some of the literal best players in the world. Um, some guys that jumped off the model in my head was JT, X, and Rory, but all of them popped in the model, and it's not too deep. I don't have to go crazy to tell you how good JT, X, and Rory are. But who else
Mhm.
do you like up here?
Well, I really like actually DJ's kind of coming in outside of Jordan, one of the lowest owned in that range. I know he's just above 10K, but I really like DJ. He ranks number one, so he ranks first in Fanshare's course suitability ranking. So this course models out perfectly for DJ. DJ had a down year, didn't win, and so he's actually not in Maui right now. He's not in the field. So I think DJ's coming back. And if you get me the ownership discount, because like you just talked about, everybody in that range, there's such a thin line for everybody. We get a little bit of ownership count on DJ. Well, I'm going to take advantage of that. In my player pool, he's actually one of the highest owned guys.
So since like I don't do DFS much, I'm gonna ask you some questions. DJ is what he said he's low owned. I don't look at any ownership, so he is low owned this week.
So he's not low owned. He's the lowest owned outside of Spieth in that range.
Okay.
And so
okay.
that also tells me, so just because we look at like DJ's flat ownership, which is 14, 15 right now, what that tells me then is who Colin, who's going to be very highly owned, maybe the highest, and Xander. That also tells me that people are starting their lineups with Colin or Xander. And so that's helpful with the game theory aspect, because then it can kind of help me see what are people thinking when they make lineups. So if I do have a lineup with Colin, then it helps me make sure I build contrarian lineups with still some people that I like. So he's not going to be low owned, but he'll be lower owned comparative to the golfers around him.
Right. And I mean, Dustin's back to being when was the last time he was the betting favorite? Probably it was a few months, because he's kind of been in the tailspin. So I remember, if you think back to Pebble Beach last year, he was literally a plus 350 favorite. He was in the like maybe the prime. He was just winning every other week. So DJ's back to the betting favorite. High expectations for him to start the season. Anyone else in the 10K range you'd like to talk about?
Not really. Not that anything everybody's already heard. I don't.
Right.
And so it's just everybody models out well. Outside of Spieth and mine, and everybody has decent strokes gained. We don't have too recency or recent stats to kind of look at. So no, there's really not.
All right, we'll move down to one range lower. What do you like here?
So I really like Sam Burns. His ownership is creeping up a little bit. Originally, it was kind of projected below 10. Now it's almost up to 13, which is still just too low for Sam Burns. If you want to dive into some of his strokes gained stats, what's really surprising is how well he's finished in his last two tournaments. So he has a 14th and obviously won the Sanderson Farms. He lost strokes putting there, which is very unusual for a caliber golfer of Sam Burns. One, losing 2 strokes on the green, which is just so incredible. So he's playing super well on approach. He's hitting it off the tee. Tee to green, he's great. And just to give you an example of some of Sam Burns' past wins, when he won the Valspar in May, he gained 9.1 strokes on the green. And so when he's losing and still performing, we're going to expect some positive regression with the putter. And so watch out for Sam Burns. So I'll just give you one other guy I really like, and he's going to be popular. I know it's hard not to play him, though, but that's just Cam Smith. Again, models out really, really well. There's 4 par 5s on this course, and in the last 24 rounds, he ranks first in strokes against par 5. Kills it with the wedges. He's 13th on approach, 27th in ball striking. It's hard to get away from Cam. And apparently the green complexes are around the green. I mean, there's some crazy bunkering, and I think around the green will have some importance, and we know how good of a wedge player and just around the green game guy he is. But who do you like in the 9K area?
Yeah, I wrote down Sam Burns as well, and I saw that he was like what you said, 7 to 10%. I think people are scared to go back to Sam Burns, but for no reason, because when he won the Valspar right in the fall, and then was the week after that, he should have won the tournament that KH Lee won. I forget which tournament it was. He was like right in the mix on Sunday, and it was like a torrential downpour, and he just got some unlucky breaks. So when he's playing good for a period of time. And Sam Burns was first in my model, but I just couldn't, from a betting standpoint, I couldn't bet a 20-1 Sam Burns in this field. But DFS wise, I think, and especially if he's 7% owned, I love that. I would definitely go to Sam Burns. And the next guy I wrote in the 9K range, I'm sure he's through the roofs with ownership, Victor Hovland. He's got to be, right?
Yeah, he's pretty highly owned. Fanshare has Victor at 17% right now.
Yeah, so Victor Hovland, I mean, he makes sense. He gained like 9 point something or 10 point something strokes ball striking last week and lost it all around the greens. He's not going to do that again this week. I can promise you that. These are bigger greens this week. He's going to play good. He might even win this tournament. But again, if he's super high owned, there's definitely going to be some pivots off of Victor. Anyone else you like in the 9K range?
Yeah, Brooks is interesting at very low ownership. He's under 10, and I know there's a lot of people with some outrights on him. It's a great number. Tony is very interesting. This just feels like a Tony course and kind of like a Tony week. We don't have, again, much strokes gain information of him, but from the long term, he models out well. And similarly to what we saw 2 weeks ago, where there's so much bias from the previous winner, Sung Jae is probably going too low.
I was just going to say that. I was just going to say.
Mm-hmm.
I mentioned on the show I did by myself on Monday. I feel like if Sung Jae didn't win on last week, he would be through the roofs. Like everyone would be betting him, and everyone would be. I'm not sure his ownership was, but I feel like he would be one of the most touted guys like in a while if he just didn't win. If Matt Wolff would have taken it, which would have been nice for all of us, then Sung Jae would be through the roofs this week because there's no reason at all Sung Jae won't perform again this week because he plays every damn week to begin with, and he's in Vegas again. So.
Oh, 1,000%. I completely agree. And then maybe the guy I forgot to mention that's one of my favorites in the 9K, and Scottie Scheffler. I put an outright on him. You're speaking of par fives, ranks in the top 20, ball striking top 19, models out well. This is a Scottie course. And people have a bad habit in DFS is when, we first want to think of one golf tournament and likely a few more, but one is not enough sample size to say, hey, then that was a bad play or a good play. So Scottie missed the cut last week, and so many people then are going to be off him. He was very highly owned, not highly owned right now, under 14%. Again, last week he's one of the highest, so people are jumping ship because they think, gosh, Scottie was a bad play last week. Well, if you like Scottie last week, you need to play him this week because we get the ownership discount. And it's a very similar course. I like Scottie, and I'm not afraid of that miscut. And to me, I'm glad he miscut because we get a better opportunity for him right here.
Yeah, and I had Scottie on my short list this week. I wrote down some names like Sunday night, Monday morning, and I feel like I like him a lot in DFS, and I would if I was playing that. But I didn't. He didn't make my betting card just because he didn't play good last week, and he had one good round, but he did it all with his putter. He didn't hit the ball too well, but I feel like it's a great bounce back spot for Scottie. We'll move down to the 8K range. Who do you like here?
So the 8K range is my favorite range, and I think this range, if you get it right, is going to help you do well in DFS this week. This range is so important. So the first guy I do want to talk about is Tommy Fleetwood. So Fleetwood had a real bad year last year. Not the Fleetwood that we know, didn't play well in the Ryder Cup. We have seen some life with him at the Alfred Dunhill Links and, over in England and how they play those three courses. He played very well. I think he finished tied 7th, and he finished 7th or average 7th in the field in green and regulation in that tournament. So kind of some recent well performance and recent good numbers. We don't have the same type of strokes gain information, or they don't over on the Euro Tour. Doesn't keep the same information, so we kind of have to adjust. But played well over there. I'm expecting a Tommy Fleetwood to have kind of a bounce back, and this course sets up for him. Wider fairways, a par 5. He's going to have a lot of wedges in his hand. That's what Tommy does. I like Tommy a lot, and he is going to be super low owned, under 5% right now. Yeah, nobody's on.
Is he a sponsor exemption? Because I believe he doesn't have his tour card. I wonder.
He might be. Yeah, I'm not sure.
So with that added narrative, he's gonna play as he's probably as locked in as ever in a regular PGA Tour event to perform well. So I really like that Tommy Fleetwood call, especially like what you just said plus a narrative. I wrote down Mark Leishman, who I actually bet. I'm riding his hot putter. It's gained 7 over 7 the last 2 weeks, and he gained 2.5 strokes ball striking last week, which isn't great, but that's solid for Mark Leishman. And if he's hitting the ball well, maybe he can do a little bit better this week and doesn't have to gain 7 strokes putting. If he can gain like 3.5 ball striking, maybe like a little bit less putting, he can be in business this week to have an awesome week.
Oh yeah, I think he's going to be
especially with the short game. If the short game thing is going to be important, that just boosts his value even more.
Oh, for sure. And I was saying it on my show with Drew on Monday night that Mark Leishman is going to be an interesting guy to watch ownership-wise throughout the week. Right now, he's very low owned, under 10% projected. Okay. And so what that tells me is I'm going to buy into all the reasons to play him. You just mentioned one with riding that kind of hot putter and how he kind of played well on approach last week. So if he was getting into 15% owned, then I might say, okay, I'm going to lean on then the evidence to say he might have been a bad play because we know how crazy variance or variant wise putting is. But with the 8%, yeah, let's buy that low ownership. So I love the Mark play, and I'll just share a few others. Hatton is very interesting. He's getting kind of mentioned a lot with some outrights. Casey too, he's kind of chalky, as chalk Casey always is, but he's dropping down a lot in salary. The last time we saw Paul Casey in a normal kind of field event, he was $700 more. So if you like Paul Casey, you're getting him at a salary discount.
Yeah.
And, actually not so bad with the ownership as well. He's projected 15. But I really like the guy right below him, and that's Adam Scott. Hit the ball well on approach. Yeah, and coming in at 5%. He's a UNLV grad, so it's a home game for the guy. From Australia. Australians play good in the desert, whatever whatever narratives you kind of want to do. But Adam models out long term with this, similar to what Casey does. Plays well in par fives, but you know what Adam does: kills it on approach, hits his irons well, needs to improve the putting. But what else in the AK do you like?
Yeah, I wrote down Adam Scott as well. He modeled out for me big time. But I didn't get there in the betting market. I'm sure Jason Kochrack is very well owned. Is he?
Actually, not as much as you think. He's 8%. So I know he won the event last year at a different course there, but yeah, he's not coming in that highly owned.
Yeah, Jason Kochrack, he definitely he modeled out for me. Not the best, but he modeled out decent. He's coming off of a week where he missed the cut, but he still shot 4 under par. He didn't by any means play bad golf. He missed the cut in, he shot, what is it, 68, like probably missed a few putts, and he's back on bent where he had an awesome season last year. And there's nothing that tells me that Jason Kochrack won't do well. Maybe all the bunkers might give him some trouble, but he's a Vegas guy. Right. He talked about like 3 months ago on Cole Nose's podcast, how besides Maverick and Colin, he thinks he's played here the next most at Summit Club because he's always in Vegas with his MGM sponsors and doing things in Vegas. So
yeah, I bet he's got a lot of money games at the Summit Club. He's played it.
Oh yeah. Yeah. All right. Want to move down to the 7K range? Unless you want to know anyone else?
Let's do it.
All right. 7K guys. Someone I wrote down, and he was a little bit more popular on my Twitter timeline than I thought he was going to be. Was who I did bet outright was Joaquin Neiman. He was 11th in my model in the last year. He was 6th on bent grass, and he's coming off of a week where he lost 1 point. No, he gained on bent. He did a great job putting, but he lost off the tee, which is where he makes his hay, which is he's great off the tee.
Right.
And I'm not worried. Joaquin Neiman is never a guy where you think his driver is gonna be a liability. So I expect him to bounce back with his driver, and if he can still putt again, I think we can be in business with Joaquin.
Yeah, I like Neiman. He is getting a little chalky for me, and so he was originally in my pool. Yeah, he's getting up to 17%. So for me, and if I loved him, then I would go well overweight on him, obviously. But he was in kind of the mid range in my player pool, and so because of the ownership, it has me I took him out of that player pool. He actually ranks 51st in course suitability ranking, so not too good. But it's if you love Neiman, I was about to say Keegan. Oh gosh, but if you love Neiman, I'm not gonna talk you off him because it makes sense. I see it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, another guy in the 7K range. I'm sure he's just getting so much buzz this week, and I was originally gonna have him on my betting card, but I can promise you guys, if you're watching this from a betting standpoint, we are not going to get a community Maverick McNeely win. We're just not, especially in this field, we're not going to get it. And I'm sure what's his ownership looking like?
So it's surprisingly lower than I thought. It's 14. I would imagine that might creep up just a couple points, but not absurd.
No, it's not absurd. And I feel like he will perform well. As you guys know, he's a member here. He plays here. He has the course record here. And what I like about Maverick, besides all that, is I see a lot of comparison in his game, which you might not realize this, but if you look at the numbers pretty deeply, he's like a mini version of Rory. He's very driver putter, and I mean that Rory being 4th in my model and then plus all the Mav stuff was like, okay, I got to bet Mav outright, but I saw all the Mavericks tipped and I'm like, we're not getting a Maverick outright community win, and especially in a field this strong. But maybe a solid DFS play.
Yeah, and I'm so thankful he missed the cut last week. Now, I wouldn't say that last week because I had a lot of shares owned of him because he wasn't that highly owned last week. He was probably about, a decent amount. But anyway, that MC may have helped his ownership stay somewhat reasonable this week. And I do like Maverick. I'm not a narrative guy, so I don't hold too much stock in being a member, but I can really understand how it helps. And so that does make me feel better this week. But this is the fall and early part of the new year is going to be Maverick McNeely season. We're going to see him play well. We're going to see him play well all the way up through Torrey. And as we get into, Northern California, all the way up. Until we go back to Florida, that's going to be Maverick McNeely season. And we're going to see him perform well. I'm going to talk about two guys in the 7K range, actually three. But one of the guys I'm just going to go over real quick. The first is being Justin Rose. And Justin Rose's ownership has spot up to about 12%. That is so surprising. I really like Justin Rose. And the suitability ranking, he ranks 7th, which is so surprising. And, well, it's surprising to see it, but if you dive into the data behind it, it makes sense. He ranks over the last 24 rounds, he ranks 9th in strokes gained par 5. We know what he does at kind of courses like this. And he can kind of get hot. He can get hot with approach. He knows how to make a ton of birdies. He ranks in the top 20 and opportunities gained. So I really like Rose. Siwoo is very interesting to me to kind of have a bounce back after last week. And the guy that I just have to talk about, because if you follow me on Twitter, I'm so highly on him as just a caliber golfer, and that's Taylor Gooch. So Taylor Gooch, ball striking wise, is coming into this tournament one of the best, maybe the best. What holds him back and what has held him back his whole career is off the tee. When he is in the fairway, he has so many. I don't have his proximity stats pulled up, but he has to be one of the top in the field in proximity because that's what Taylor Gooch does. Also pretty good around the green, but here we get wider fairways. It's a resort style course, a little bit wider fairways. That's more forgiving. That makes Taylor Gooch even more. I think bettable and playable. Not too highly owned, only about 12%. That's surprising. So I'm highly overweight on him. I'm on an outright on him. He's getting a lot of buzz, but it's for good reason. Taylor Gooch is a great play.
Yeah, and I remember last season, I feel like every other week he was just on the top 5 on Monday, and Tuesday, Thursday, Friday during this fall swing. And if he can get a win in this fall swing, I don't really think anyone would be surprised. And I'm not sure if this is the week, but if it is, I won't be surprised. And like you said, if he's in the fairway, he's gonna go at flags. He's gonna have great chances all week. In that 7K range, someone else I liked. Aaron Wise there's a lot of Aaron Wise buzz all around. He's putting better than he ever has in his career, which is what has held him back. And who else did I see? Well, you mentioned Siwoo. I also had him on my short list as well, but I feel like he's one of the hardest guys to predict on tour. He's just no matter what he's doing, he can do the opposite the next week just out of nowhere, but he definitely makes sense.
That's what makes him a great DFS play because people know that Siwoo is volatile, and so people get scared of him, and so he's always goes really low owned in the tournaments, and we can take advantage of that. Each time he plays if he's coming in well. So it makes him a good DFS play.
Yeah, and I feel like I didn't bet him at all, but I feel like there's absolutely no reason why Max Homa won't keep playing good golf. And I wonder. He won his last start. I wonder how many guys will be on him in the DFS sense, but I feel like there's nothing. I was high on him in Napa, and obviously he performed well. He won, but there's nothing telling me that he won't play good golf here. Maybe I don't know, but Max Homa I feel like makes some sense. Anyone else in the 7K range, or is that it?
No, you mentioned kind of Wise. I don't like Wise. I don't think Wise's game fits here. I know he's coming in well. Varner just had a baby, so take that for what you will. Sergio's interesting. And then the last I'll say is Noren is a birdie maker. Actually, be one other guy, but Noren is a birdie maker. Russell Henley models out well. He models out all the time. We're getting, since I think it was 2 tournaments ago, or maybe last tournament, Cameron Tringali is $1,500 cheaper salary with Wise.
Because that one round
is so well. Yeah, exactly.
It
So
was Sunday, right?
right, and so that is so odd, and so you're getting a
Mhm.
huge price discount on Cameron Tringale. So I just thought I'd throw that out there.
Yeah. Okay. We'll move down to the garbage range.
Mm-hmm.
I actually bet someone in this range because I had one very little units left on my card. I actually bet Keith Mitchell strictly because of the if
Kill
this
the
turns
keep.
into yeah, I mean he can make. We saw twice in the last 2 months. He literally made 7 birdies in a row, which like is just absurd. And if this course if this course comps out to Quail Hollow, which I'm hearing, he's finished
Mm-hmm.
8th and 3rd there his two times. I didn't overthink it. I had a little bit of money to spend. I placed an outright bet on 321 on Keith Mitchell. Anyone else you like here?
Nice. Yeah, well, I kind of like EVR.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of sync is a little interesting. The buzz that everyone's talking about is 2 guys, and that's Cameron Davis and Johnny Vegas, aka Frank. And though those are great plays, Vegas models out well. Cameron Davis is trending well, and he kind of kills it off the tee. There's going to be a lot of short wedges into these greens, and Cameron Davis gives us opportunities there. But from other just we'll call them deeper options, some darts. Chris Kirk is hitting the ball better than many in this range, and so that's kind of good to see. K.H. Lee, I really like. He's a birdie maker. And speaking of a birdie maker, that's Sung Kang. We saw what he
Oh
did in
yeah,
round 1, I think,
crazy.
last week. He can make it in bunches. He's not consistent. He can go full kegs and be first round leader and then miss the cut. But I
He almost did
love
it
Sung
last
Kang.
week.
Yeah, for real, no
Yeah.
joke. He likely should have. And the
Yeah.
last is Glover. Really like Glover. He is an approach machine. Not so great putter, but at minimum price, those are just a couple filler plays if you want to get in. Some of the top dogs.
Yeah. So I mean, 6K range is a little bit tough this week. We got a lot of guys we've literally never even heard of because it's a
Right.
CJ Cup. Got some like Asian exemption guys, but yeah, the top of the leaderboard is stacked. I'm not sure the best way. I feel like the best way to go about this week is maybe even start with like a Hovland and have it super bunched in the middle because you don't want to
Yeah.
unless you can find like a 6K gem. Like I feel like it might be tough. But I
Yeah,
mean,
or
what?
unless you feel like that, like DJ or JT, are going to go 1-2, and then you might need a 6K guy, and you don't have to worry about them missing the cut. But birdie
Yeah,
upside will kind of be big. But yeah, stars and scrubs are always a popular approach and no cut events. But because it's popular, that might make the balance build have a little bit more upside. And I
yeah.
kind of agree with that. But I really think that the winner of some GPPs are really going to be decided in that 8K range. Who can get that right is the key this
Right.
week.
Yeah, it's definitely I mean, we can get a winner out of the 8K range, like because
Yeah.
there's some if you can get the right one, you might be in business this week. But like you said, JT, I'm not hearing him like I feel like he's not popular in the betting market at all. I mean, he is like a favorite, but I feel like he's
Mm-hmm.
always it's more buzz than he is this week, and I'm kind of scared because I'm addicted to betting on JT, and I feel like the one week I don't bet him, he's just gonna win. So I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see.
Yeah, well, JT, it's hard not to bet him because how he's kind of like a Colin. Ball striking stats are just incredible. The putter is the iffy thing, but
Yeah. I know
yeah,
it's gonna be a fun week. I'm really excited. We have a nice field. Get to watch some of the best players in the world tomorrow morning. So I'm happy to be back into like some real guys watching some good PGA Tour live and not Martin Laird on PGA Tour live. So
right. Yeah, we ain't trying to do that too much longer, and
it's gonna be
hopefully
fun.
we need to make it a deal to get all the guys and girls, whoever, but get our group, and we got to do a live show with everybody in Vegas for this tournament or the Shriners next year. I guess they'll go back to
Oh
Asia next
yeah.
year, so maybe for the Shriners, we all got to go to Vegas, watch some golf, spend some time there, and
Oh, that would be awesome. And
that'd be nuts.
I'm sure if we plan it now, some guys will be down. I was thinking about I was gonna go out to the CJ Cup this week with my Wolf
Mhm.
winnings, but just didn't happen. So
Oh man,
um,
the front his front nine before Sungjae made his move. I thought Wolf had it. He just kind of looked dialed in, but
yeah, I mean, how'd you end up doing last week with your DFS stuff?
good. I had kind of got a lot of kind of good lineups with some real low owned contrarian players kind of being in and around the kind of top 10, and Neesmith and kind of guys like that. But
Nice.
I really kind of went heavy on Siwoo last week, and so that missed cut very hurt. I had some 5 of 5, some cashed, but just like a lot of people out there, if Siwoo would have made the cut or one other guy in my 5 of 6, then
You would
I
have
had
been in business.
Yeah, I would have been in business. I was very underweight of Sung Jae, and the only reason I played him because I didn't like him early in the week was because his ownership was lower, but had a lot of Wolf. So what could have been, but it was close, and so when we're close, we know, hey, maybe a win's around the corner.
Yeah, keep it up. So yeah, that was anything else you want to add, or I think we're good.
No, I'm good. Good luck, everybody.
Yep, thanks for tuning in. It's going to be a good week. Good luck to everyone, and I'll see you guys next